And today, let's start off with the movie Rush, all based on Formula One Niki Lauda and James Hunt. But everybody needs to calm down about this movie. Peter. Okay, let's talk about Rush. Now, it's come out, I think it's in 2013, right? It's a great movie in general, but here's the thing. Everyone raves about the movie, how it's the best racing film ever made, right? It captures the soul of Formula One, how it's so real. But, well, pump the brakes there now, Betsy. Hang on a second here now. Because while Rush is, without question, a great movie, it's also incredibly flawed. It's dramatic, yes. Beautifully shot, sure, absolutely. But the racing itself, let's just say, not quite up to speed. And yet, I still believe Rush, I'll even say it, it is one of the best racing films ever made. I'm being serious on this one. Not because of the racing, but because of the human story. And this is where the divide happens here, lads, alright? It's hardcore racing fans that want Rush to be the definitive motorsport film. And I get that, I really do. They want realism, accuracy, a true representation of the sport they love. They want Le Mans, right? 1971, levels of on-track purity, man, where everything feels like an actual race weekend. But the problem, that's not what Rush is all about. On the flip side, casual viewers love Rush for what it is. It's intense, high energy, character driven, drama that just happens to feature Formula One. And I get it. The film does an amazing job of making F1 history feel like larger than life. It really does. But if we're being honest, the racing scenes, well, they kind of suck. I mean, I gotta admit, most of the time, sorry, not most of the time, 99.9% of the time when I watch a movie based on racing, I'm fast forwarding or I'm looking away, lads, and I'm tuned out, I'm zoned out, I'm not here anymore, and I'm waiting for it to just be over because they don't get it, and it's very, very hard. It's almost to the point of impossible for directors out there, even Spielberg, Scorsese, these guys, it is almost impossible for them to get what it really feels like in a racing car. So, let's get into it. Okay, Rush, it tells the story of the 1976 Formula One season and the legendary rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. And let me tell you, lads, James Hunt, I mean, this guy was like an absolute movie star. This guy was smoking. I mean, yeah, believe it or not, if you've never checked out James Hunt, you gotta YouTube this fella. Watch his interviews. This guy was banging chicks everywhere. He was smoking, drinking. I mean, he was a pure movie star in racing overalls. He really was. Perfect story for Hollywood. Two drivers with completely opposite personalities fighting for a world championship in an era of real danger. I mean, there's a real huge possibility that you're not coming back alive. And I mean, racing was so dangerous back then. And Ron Howard, to his credit, he nailed the human side of it, and he directed this, lads. The way the movie captured Lauda's methodical, calculated approach versus Hunt's wild, reckless charisma, it's pitch perfect. I honestly was blown away by that part. And, Daniel Bruhl is Niki Lauda. His performance is so amazingly accurate that you almost forget you're watching an actor, honestly. And Chris Hemsworth, man, I mean, I thought he was just all good looks and all that, and, he could sort of deliver a performance for you. But, man, he's damn good. He's got the looks, the charm, the swagger of Hunt down to a T. But then we get to the racing, and here's where the problem starts. The CGI heavy racing scenes, they look very gamey, I have to admit, lads. The crashes, I wouldn't say they're over-exaggerated because, as an ex-racing driver, the amount of crashes that I've had, the amount of crashes that every racing driver I've ever known has had, it's just part of the package. And it's amazing the way a wheel can fly off when you hit an Armco barrier and it can end up 5,000 foot away from you. I mean, it's unbelievable where the bits of cars end up. And, the dialogue, it's a bit embarrassing. It's a bit embarrassing. quotes, you're just in a rat in a cage. I'll beat him because I can. Rate is the great equalizer. I mean, just pouring it on now. I mean, come on. It's the kind of stuff you'd hear in an F1 24 story mode cutscene, not real life, man. And don't even get me started on the way the cars behave. The amount of oversteer in this film is ridiculous. There's no way anybody could pilot a car that has that much oversteer. And by the way, lads, when you actually drive oversteer, that means that when you turn into a corner, it just like it flicks away from you. The back of the car just like whips out on you, and that's what oversteer is. And cars just wouldn't. You'd be dead. You'd be dead. And every single car is sliding around like a drift championship rather than precision racing here. Then there's the radio chatter. Oh, jeez. I mean, sort of the do or die feels straight out of Fast and Furious, man, rather than an F1 broadcast. And let's not forget the Hollywood slow motion stare-offs. There's been a couple of stare-offs in racing, but you're not having on purpose, I'm going to stare him down. Right, this doesn't happen, The music swells. We get a dramatic helmet close-up before someone floors it into a heroic overtake. Does it look cool? I guess so. Yeah, is it real? Absolutely not. And yet, Rush still works. It works brilliantly because while the racing itself may be Hollywood nonsense, okay, the emotions are very real. The film isn't about details of Formula 1. It really is about the soul of it, Like the racing part of it is the passenger here. It really, truly is. And really, that's what a great movie's all about, right? It's about the character development, the pain that they're going through. Can they go through it? The arc of the character. And Ron Howard, he's one of the greats of all time, And that's, despite all my criticisms here, I'll still say Rush is the best motorsport movie probably ever made. I mean, there's one or two others that we will review, but it's on the podium. It's in the top 3. There's no two ways about it. The more I think about it, and not because it shows a great racing, man. It understands what racing means to the people involved. The Niki Lauda comeback, incredible, and that's all true story. The moment he removes his helmet, showing his burned face to the world. It's brutal, man, brutal. And this all happened, lads. You can see this on YouTube, even though I wouldn't recommend you go on YouTube to see it. But, look, if you're very curious to see it, you should. The respect between him and Hunt, despite everything, it was tear-jerking, I have to say. Honestly, it really was, There was a huge respect for them between each other. And, oh, God, here I go again. I get almost tearing up here. That's the moment where even the most diehard racing fans, purists, have to admit, yeah, Rush got something right other than the racing film. Okay, so let's resolve this. Where does this leave us, lads? So look, what would I say? If you're watching Rush to be the most realistic film ever made, you're going to be disappointed. Now, because it's not. If you watch it for what it is, gripping. Absolutely gripping, emotional, character-driven, that drama that happens to be set in the Formula 1 World Championship. It's bloody fantastic. And yeah, some of us can cringe at the racing. Yeah, we can roll our eyes at the dramatic one-liners, right? They are. But at the end of the day, Rush did something no other racing movie has managed, lads. It made people care about Formula 1. Not just as a sport, but as a story. And that's why it deserves to be celebrated. Just let's not pretend it's perfect. Peter.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Peter.
Wow. 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 Wow.